I wanted to talk about the Sun Belt Conference standings getting towards the last 2 weeks of the regular season. It starts to mean a little bit more, no pun intended. But there's really 3 races going on in the Sun Belt Conference standings. The top 4, Texas State, Georgia Southern, Louisiana, and Coastal, all trying to fight for that top spot in the Sun Belt. Louisiana and Texas State still have to play each other
this weekend.
Coming up this weekend. Texas State leads the way. Georgia Southern 2 games back. Louisiana 3 games back of Texas State, 1 behind Georgia Southern. Coastal Carolina 3.5 back of Texas State, 1.5 back of Georgia Southern, and just a half game behind Louisiana. A lot can happen over the next 2 weeks. You've got 6 games for those 4 teams. And if you're Georgia Southern, you like how the schedule plays out, but again, you have to take care of business.
The way that you can look at this weekend's schedule, if you win, even if you don't pick up much ground on Texas State, you can still create distance with other guys that are trying to catch up to you, because if Texas State wins, Louisiana's losing.
Right.
So that means if Georgia Southern wins, gap between the Eagles and the Cajuns. But Coastal also goes to Troy.
Right.
So if Troy can get back on track, they've got Auburn tomorrow night at Riddle Pace Field. But if they get back on
Troy
track,
is much better at home.
Correct. If they get back on track, find a way to get to that Coastal starting pitching, then maybe Coastal backs up a little bit. Or if Coastal keeps doing what they're doing, maybe they inch towards a possible regular season championship, and maybe Troy slides down into that 7-10 position.
So that's the first race to win the Sun Belt Conference regular season. Texas State, Georgia Southern, Louisiana, Coastal, in that order. The next race is really 5 through 7. You may be able to count 8 in there a little bit, probably 8, maybe even 9. But you've got Troy and South Alabama tied at 13 and 11 overall. Georgia State 1 game back of that at 12 and 12. In 8, you've got Little Rock at 9 and 14, just 3.5 back of Troy and South Alabama for 5th. The reason that 5 through 8 makes a lot of difference, 7, 8, 9, and 10 have to play in single elimination as part of the play-in to the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So if you're those 4, you really need to get that 5-6 spot to be able to get to the double elimination without having to play that extra game.
And everybody that's in the top 6 is going to look at 7 through 10 and say, score as much as you want, use as much pitching as you want, play as long as you want to. Feel free to play 14,
only
15
2
games you want to.
Breaking the field.
They've got the lights paid for. Don't worry about them going off or anything. Play a lot. Play as much as you want to.
And then the final race is trying to get into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. You've got the 9 seed Appalachian State, or the 9th standing Appalachian State right now, 13 games back of Texas State at 7 and 17. ULM 6 and 17. They've lost their last 7, a half game back of Appalachian State. UT Arlington in 11th with a 6 and 18 conference record, 1 game back of App, and 1.5 games back for Arkansas State, 5 and 18. Again, Arkansas State and Little Rock had to postpone that or cancel that last game, so that's why they are a half game back of others. ULM and Coastal had that tie that makes everything a half game weird. But between App, ULM, UT Arlington, and Arkansas State, those 4, you could even throw Little Rock if Georgia Southern's able to knock them down a little bit. Others win, but Little Rock is kind of fighting for both. But App, ULM, UT Arlington, and Arkansas State are all fighting for those final 2 spots in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, because 11 and 12 are done at the regular season.
And all 4 play each other these next 2 weekends.
Yes.
App goes to Arlington this weekend. Arkansas State goes to ULM the final weekend. Could that be elimination baseball? Maybe. But if you don't hold up in the other portion of when you're not playing those teams, then you're kind of deciding it for yourself. And you'd hate it for Arlington, because this being their final year in the league, really for Little Rock too, even though they seem to be safe in that top 10. But for those 2, if you dip into the bottom 2, that's it for the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
You're done.
It'll be interesting to see, and I think there's going to be a lot of shifting and jockeying the next 2 weeks, because there's a lot of really important series. I'm not going to say necessarily really good series, but really important series as far as standings in the Sun Belt still to be played.
we'll definitely be keeping an eye on, especially the Cajuns and Texas State this weekend, also Coastal Carolina and Troy, and then the final weekend, since everybody's got to bump up a day, you wonder, one, will teams restructure their pitching, and two, will they say, okay, I'm going to keep you where you are, but you're only going to go 2-3 innings because we may need you back for a Tuesday game or a Wednesday game, just depending on where you are in the standings.
It'll be interesting to see down the back stretch. 2 weekends left in the regular season for baseball. Hard to believe. It seems like just last week we were trying to get ready for the start of the season at Tennessee.
And beating Georgia Tech on February 22nd.
That too.
That was a fun night.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
6 o'clock first pitch on Wednesday up at Rush Chandler Stadium. Georgia Southern and the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out at Gary Hogan Field. 7 o'clock Eastern on Friday. 5 o'clock Saturday. 2 o'clock on Sunday. Until this weekend, for the voice of the Eagles, Danny Reed, this is Colin Lacy saying so long, everybody.
You've been listening to Inside Eagle Nation, powered by Learfield, the official podcast of Georgia Southern Athletics.